Hello. Hey folks, it's Jill Castle. I'm a pediatric dietitian and I'm going to be live in about a minute taking any of your questions, having a discussion about what it means to be a pediatric dietitian, and talking a little bit about my career. So I'll hang on for just a minute or two. I'm trying to get my second screen going so I can make sure I can see your questions as they pop up. But if you're here and you're watching, say hey in the comments so I can see and say hey to you. See myself on two screens. All right. Hi, Jill. You seem a little blurry. Is this better now? Let's see. Make sure I've got my other stuff off. That may help. Let me know if that's better. I'm shutting down everything else on my computer. And I'll double check. I love the hearts. Thank you. Let's see. Okay. Hopefully that's better. Maybe complicating it having two pages open, so I'll just focus on the one. All right. Hi, everyone. Happy Monday at noon. I'm Jill Castle. I'm a pediatric dietitian on my 28th year. Unbelievable. I am, let's see, first off, I have a website, jillcastle.com. It is all about childhood nutrition and feeding. I host a blog over there as well as my podcast. And I also have everything about me over there as well. I've written a few books, so my books are there. I do speaking engagements, so information about that is over there, as well as some consulting. So today, I hope that you will post questions in the comments, and I hope that I'll be able to answer them for you. But I thought we would just sort of talk about pediatric nutrition, my journey as a registered dietitian, and maybe get into some of the current things that are going on in pediatric nutrition right now, and hopefully answer any questions you have. You can find me again on my website, jillcastle.com. My social handles are @PDRD. You can find me on Twitter under @PDRD, on Pinterest @PDRD, on Instagram, I.am.PDRD. And then also on LinkedIn and pretty much everywhere else. Facebook, The Nourished Child, which is my Facebook page. So if you're not a follower of that, I'd love for you to be. Have a lot of parents over there who ask lots of questions about pediatric nutrition. So way back in 1989, I did my internship. I actually graduated from Indiana University. They had a very small nutrition program, and I had been exposed to the city of Boston through my best friend, and I knew when I graduated that I wanted to live in Boston. So I applied to 3 internships there and got into the internship at Mass General Hospital. And fortunately for me, they had a 2-week pediatric rotation, and I took advantage of that, did my rotation, fell in love with my mentor, preceptor, children. I had been pretty far into my internship at that point, so I knew that I wanted to do clinical nutrition. And when I hit the pediatric floors, I knew I wanted to work with children. Not only do I find them to be pure and positive and just really fun. I also found them to be challenging clinically because not only were they experiencing many of the same exact problems that adults experience, but they were also trying to grow and develop, and not only physically, but mentally, emotionally. So I find the population of pediatrics extremely interesting and rewarding and fulfilling. So when I finished my internship, I actually was offered a job on the pediatric ward. They needed a position to be filled, and I luckily was offered that spot, and I took it, and I worked at Mass General for almost 5 years. And then I switched over to Boston Children's Hospital and worked as a nutrition support dietitian there. So I took care of bone marrow transplant patients and cardiac ICU patients, which were mostly babies, and some of the surgical ICU patients, strictly nutrition support. And then I had 4 of my own kids. So I actually took 9 years off from my career, and I stayed home full time. And when my youngest son turned around 4, I started to think, gosh, I know that I'm going to want to get back into my field, into my profession. And at the time when he entered kindergarten, I had spent a year looking at what it was like to do a private practice. Although I hadn't opened one, I'd spent quite a bit of time reading up on it, looking at the available books and resources that the Academy had at that time, which was in the early, I think that was 2007. And then our family moved to Nashville, and I got the kids settled into school, and it was pretty clear that I didn't have any friends there at the time. So I thought, why not open my practice? So I opened a private practice in 2008, and I specifically and only did pediatric nutrition. I didn't try to venture into adults because I really didn't know much about adults other than what I did for myself. So I stuck with my specialty area, pediatric nutrition, and I quickly, over about the course of 2 years, was able to develop what I considered a full-time practice. I had about 20 to 25 patient appointments per week. And you know, meanwhile, I had 4 kids in elementary school and middle school and 1 getting into high school. So life was a little bit crazy. I did that private practice for 4 years. And during that time, 2 years into that, 2009, everybody was starting to blog. And I thought, why not try blogging? So I opened up my blog, which at the time was called Just the Right Bite. And I blogged about child nutrition. I still have that blog. It is 10 years old, and it has gone through several different iterations. My website has evolved over time, but I have a lot of my original articles are still on that blog. From that blog, I met a like-minded dietitian by the name of Mary Ann Jacobson. Some of you may know her. At the time, she was running the blog Raise Healthy Eaters, and she and I started to talk. She interviewed me for a couple of blog posts for her blog, and we started to talk, and we'd get on these conversations about child nutrition, and I would say we really need a resource, a comprehensive resource on child nutrition, something that's up to date and relevant for today. And that's where Fearless Feeding, How to Raise Healthy Eaters from High Chair to High School was born. We were lucky to get a literary agent, and then a publisher, Wiley, picked up the book, and we wrote Fearless Feeding from around 2011. It came out in 2013. I want to say it was an 18 to 20 month process of writing, editing, revisions, and the publisher actually putting it and publishing it. And that was really exciting because then I started to get asked to speak. And so I started on my speaking journey, and have done a lot of the state affiliate annual meetings, but I've branched into much broader areas for speaking: school nurses, pediatricians, departments of health. And I even got to get on the TEDx stage and really talk about child nutrition and what we're faced with today when it comes to nourishing healthy kids. So that's been a really great, wonderful opportunity for me. From there, over the years, I've continued to operate my private practice. I've started to do some consulting. I've written a few more books. I wrote a book called Eat Like a Champion on sports nutrition for child and teen athletes. I've self-published. So those first 2 books were traditionally published. I've moved more into the self-publishing area. And by the way, if anybody has questions, please go ahead and type them in the comments, and I'll be sure to try and answer